If you love Missouri and love strange things, you're gonna love this video. Let's go! What's going on, guys? Jesse Weiser here. I'm a real estate broker here in Springfield, Missouri, and I'm so excited to give you the strangest things about Missouri. There's some strange ones, let me tell you. But first, if you're thinking about moving to Missouri or the Springfield, Missouri area, check out wiserlivingrealty.com, and you can reach out to me. If you reach out to the email or the phone number down below, you'll get directly me. That's why we make these videos, so we can connect. I would love to get to know you. Or if you're just here for the strange things, that's totally okay too. So today we get to the most strangest stuff. And we have compilated together the most ultimate list of the craziest things that have happened in Missouri. I can't believe this stuff even happened. It makes no sense, but I'm excited to share it with you. Are you ready? Are you ready? I may be acting a little strange today, but that's because we're doing the most strangest things. I probably should stick to my script. The first strangest thing, did you know that the president is not allowed up in the St. Louis Arch? The gateway of the Midwest. Did you know that? The arch is the tallest man-made monument in the United States, reaching up to 630 feet, and its construction was complicated. The Secret Service has forbidden all presidents from going up in the Gateway Arch for security reasons. The only exception being Dwight Eisenhower, who signed the order for it to be constructed in 1954. That's the only man. The arch's two legs were built separately, and if for their measurements were off by as little as 1/64 of an inch, they would not have been able to join at the top. It can sway up to 18 inches and still be fine, but usually 50-mile-per-hour winds will move it 1.5 inches. That makes me feel secure. Can you imagine being up there and it's like, that's about 18 inches, right? Did you know that we discovered a dinosaur in Missouri, and it is now one of our state symbols? We are the Show Me State. Show me the dinosaur. This dinosaur, nicknamed Hadrosaur, because I had sores on it. It's a duck-billed dinosaur with over 1,000 teeth. Wow, that's a lot of teeth. It was discovered in 1942 in the town of Glen Allen, where a geologist asked a kid about where these special bones were on the property, and it actually was where their family well was. Yeah, so they already dug that thing up for the geologist. Kind of cool. Now, this is the most interesting state symbol. 1,000 teeth. The Missouri state capitol has been literally burned down twice and rebuilt 3 times. It was constructed in 1826, burnt down in 1837, then again in 1911 when lightning struck the dome. You would think they would put a lightning rod somewhere. Because it burnt down twice, they decided to make the third one out of stone and steel, mostly out of limestone, which is a Missouri stone. We got a lot of limestone around here. Looks like Missouri learned their lesson and started building things fireproof. Now, Springfield is known for the first shootout in the Wild West. Yep, all those movies that you've seen about shootouts all started in downtown Springfield. How cool is that? We're known for something. Back in 1865, there was a famous quick draw shootout on the square. It was between Bill Hickok and Davis Tutt over gambling debts and a pocket watch that Bill lost. He eventually became the legendary Wild Bill Hickok with tall tales of his adventures. Now, this one's really funny. We actually had a man sentenced to jail for 13 years and never went. So if you ever want to get sentenced to jail, just come on down to Missouri and you don't ever have to go. That probably would never ever happen again. That would be 1 in 8 billion, okay? There's about 8 billion people on the earth, you know? But in the year 2000, a man was sentenced to the robbery of a Burger King at gunpoint. They found out when it was time for him to be released. In that time, he filed an appeal to show where he was living, but they just never went to get him. He also got married, founded a company, voted, and renewed his driver's license, all while he was supposed to be in jail. 13 years. The whole time, this guy never went to jail. It's kind of crazy. I would probably say that is the strangest fact, in my opinion, about Missouri. Now, this one's kind of funny, a little weird. Very strange. In 1994, the KKK applied to sponsor a highway, which in turn the state called it the Rosa Parks Highway. Missouri stuck it to them, you know? The state could not legally refuse the sponsorship. That's why they had to do it. But they renamed it as such. So Rosa Parks' response was, "It is always nice to be thought of." Very mature of her. That is a strange fact. Another strange one, we had a bunch of wild alligators go loose in the Boot Hill of Missouri. In 2012, I was a young lad, in 2012, Kenneth had law enforcement try to collect more than 50 alligators, not native to Missouri of course, to prevent an alligator outbreak. 2 years before a man sold a bunch of alligators, what's this man doing with 50 alligators? What in the world? It was illegal to own as a pet, and they were encouraged to turn it in without being charged at the time. Do the people realize these alligators could bite their arm off? Why would you want them as a pet? This makes no sense. Dang Boot Hill. We don't consider the Boot Hill part of Missouri, okay? That's basically Arkansas. If you're from Arkansas, that's just a joke. Now here is a strange fact. Of course all these are strange. But in 1981, Ken Rex McElroy was murdered in Skidmore. Out in broad daylight with 46 witnesses. No one ever came forward and no one was ever charged. This man must have been very hated. That's all I can say. Now, he was a town bully who terrorized the people in the town, accused of dozens of felonies, including assault, child molestation, statutory rape, arson, hog and cattle wrestling, and burglary. He had a good lawyer and never faced justice except on one charge. Released on bond, McElroy shot and injured a 70-year-old man to whom he found responsible and threatened to murder him. The next day, McElroy was shot on the main square. No one was charged in connection with McElroy's death because no one has bothered to come forward. 46 witnesses. They were all 46 witnesses were temporarily blind, I guess, at that time. The flood of 1993 was caused by a man literally running away from his wife. This is hilarious. It ended up being one of the costliest floods in the United States with over $15 billion in damages. All because this man was running away from his wife. James, also known as Jimmy Scott, intentionally broke the levees that held back the Mississippi River. He was caught because he later said on the news that he claimed to be nearby and tried to help move sandbags. They thought he was suspicious and they found he had a history of destroying property. Then he later confessed to a friend he did it so he could strand his wife, Susie, at work in Missouri, so he could party and have an affair in Illinois without her. We're just gonna move on from that one. We hosted in Missouri the first Summer Olympics in America, and it was a disaster. We had it in 1904, and not many people that weren't Americans came. The marathon had almost half of the runners getting heat stroke. The first place winner cheated by getting a ride through some of the event. Most events were a joke. They had mud wrestling, greased pole climbing, live pigeon shooting, and the ever popular rock throw. Can you imagine during the Olympics where it was a grease covered pole and you had to climb it in Missouri, sticky, humid weather? You're like, like who would sign up for that? The Mississippi River back in 1811 flowed backwards during a earthquake that happened. It was a 7.5 to 8.8 on the Richter scale. What? The Mississippi flowed backwards during that time. Is that even possible? Well, I guess it was possible because it happened. That is strange. So another strange fact is there was once a law called Extermination Order 44 that kicked Mormons out of the state. Kind of crazy. Back in 1836, Governor Boggs made it illegal for Mormons to live in the state. The law stated the Mormons must be treated as enemies and must be exterminated or driven from the state if necessary for the public peace. Their outrages are beyond all description. So around 15,000 church members were forced from Missouri, leaving behind homes, livestock, and crops. So after 138 years, in 1976, it was disbanded. It was actually kind of scary at the time. I don't know what they were doing, but they were just kicking people out. I don't know how this law got put in the action because of the First Amendment. Made no sense. Strange, but we once had an entire town disappear because of toxic waste. The town of Times Beach oiled their roads back in 1972 to 74, only to find that many animals and people were getting very sick. The CDC found the roads were sprayed with a chemical called dioxin, sprayed by a man who was paid to dispose of dangerous chemicals and had no idea it was toxic. In 1983, the town had to abandon it entirely and cost Missouri $110 million in damages. We also had a citizen in Missouri act as a federal agent to make arrests to help clean up meth problems. Highly illegal. The town of Gerald had a drug problem in 2008, and a man took it upon himself to solve it. He called himself a special agent, Sergeant Bill. Bill Jacobs, who made arrests. He had a badge, gun, and started busting down doors saying he didn't need a warrant because he worked for the federal government. Oh, Sergeant Bill. He wasn't a cop, but a retired former security guard who was unemployed. All arrests were illegal and 17 of them ended up suing. Ended up with a multi-million-dollar federal civil rights lawsuit. I hope we got a good lawyer. Now in Missouri, we once had a county try to secede from Missouri because they didn't get put on the tourism map. It was McDonald County, and the town of Noel became the McDonald Territory. This was back in 1961. They were left out of the state tourism map, and they were a tourism town known for their prized scenic highway. They brought this issue up, but because nothing was done about it, they decided to declare themselves independent. Signs were posted at the border. A printer commissioned at Noel made passports. About 100,000 territorial stamps and 50,000 Visa cards were made. Around 300 guys formed a border patrol for keeping undesirables like Missouri state tax collectors out of the territory. They even proposed making this area the 51st state. Now eventually the secession was withdrawn. If anyone were to do this, a whole state named Texas would secede from the United States. I don't know how a county would think that they would become its own state within a state. Makes no sense. They definitely tried kicking those Missouri state tax collectors out. They probably didn't want to pay taxes. That's probably what it was. Now, strange fact, Missouri has 2 pronunciations. Bet you didn't know that. So the debate is Missouri or Missouri. According to the dictionary, it can technically be pronounced both ways. Politicians in one speech have pronounced it in both ways when trying to appeal to different crowds. Missouri sound is more prevalent in rural areas. Basically, everyone now says Missouri, including people who have lived in Missouri their whole life, like me. So till this day, we made an old video and people still argue between Missouri and Missouri. I guess they were Indians, the Missouri Indians. So a lot of people, they're like, oh, is it Missouri or is it Missouri? I don't know. I guess call it whatever you want. Some people call it Missouri. Well, I hope you enjoyed all these strange facts. If you want to check out more videos about Missouri, check it on over here. And remember, there's one thing that you learn that's strange about Missouri. That's to watch for deer. See you guys. Sounded like a squealing goat. Let's go!